frontrunner for the Wooden Award National Player of the Year in Frank Mason.
Frank Mason is having one of the best seasons in the history of Kansas basketball. He's been a dominant performer. But the thing about Frank Mason that impresses me most, it's not about the points or the assists or the three-point shooting. It's the little things that he does. He's arguably the best defender on this team. He plays the hardest night in and night out, exemplified by this play on Monday night at Kansas State, where he saves the basketball, comes over press row, and comes back to steal it on the other side of the floor. Truly amazing season this young man is having.
Kansas projected as a 1 seed by Joe Lunardi. Texas Tech, next 4 out by Joe Lunardi. And for those of you who aren't familiar with the bracketology vernacular, that means the Red Raiders are squarely on the bubble, making today's game at home inside United Supermarkets Arena that much bigger against the Jayhawks. Your officials, Rick Crawford, Gary Maxwell, and Chris Rastatter. And we are underway. The Red Raiders wearing the black uniforms and the Jayhawks in their road grays.
And one thing Texas Tech wants to do early in this game is try to get in the paint and get to the foul line, put the Jayhawks in foul trouble as early as possible.
Here's Keenan Evans, the point guard, 12 in black. Zach Smith, number 11 in black. A veteran Red Raiders team, 5 on the shot clock. Baseline, Jay is short, and Josh Jackson, fresh off his 20th birthday, grabs the first rebound of the game. Svi Mikhailuk with the miss, and Jackson. How about that for a birthday present?
Well, Josh Jackson has been playing his best basketball in a Jayhawk uniform over the last couple weeks. He gets the defensive rebound there, doesn't give up on the play, throws it ahead to Mikhailuk and gets the tip-in slam.
Nice up and under by Justin Gray, the 6'6" junior out of Tampa.
Justin Gray is going to have to be very productive on the offensive end, kind of give him a third scorer tonight behind Keenan Evans and Zach Smith.
Here's Jackson, one of the top recruits out of high school, coming in. Devontae Graham for 3, no. Weak side rebound to Smith. What do the Red Raiders like to do on offense, Miles?
Well, they like to spread you out. They'll get the little motion offense going. And there you see the versatility of Zach Smith, bringing it all the way up the floor, and then followed by the big guard, Naeem Stevenson.
Stevenson, a 6'5" junior out of Dallas. They call him Nemo. He fished around and got that follow tip.
I see what you did there. Finding Dory.
Mikhailuk off the mark. And the save by Livingston. An early 4-2 lead for the Red Raiders. And one of our officials at the other end of the floor, Gary Maxwell, looks like he might have gotten the wind knocked out of him. Stoppage of play. It looks like he got hit in the face that last time down the floor. Take a look. Livingston saved it out of bounds. And the official was right there. Anthony Livingston, a 6'8" grad student out of Washington, D.C., coming in at 220 pounds. Anytime someone that big is going to run into you at point-blank range, you're going to bear the brunt. There's Chris Beard addressing his troops in his first season in Lubbock. 8th overall as a head coach. Of course, came over from Arkansas Little Rock, where he set records for wins, led them to a Sun Belt championship and an NCAA tournament win over Purdue. Took the job for about a week at UNLV before this job opened up, and he spent a decade as an assistant coach here in Lubbock, his home state, under not only Bobby Knight but Pat Knight, and couldn't pass up the opportunity to return, quote unquote, home.
And nor he shouldn't have passed up the opportunity. It's a great chance for him to further his coaching career, and it's a place that he feels like is home. He has a great passion for Texas Tech and the university here, and being a Red Raider, and also family factored in. He has three daughters that live only about 2 hours from here.
2 of those 3 in attendance today. A sold-out United Supermarkets Arena.
They want to expose this mismatch. They worked in shoot-around today. If they got a switch with Mason in the post, but Livingston not able to go on Mason. Mason, one of the strongest guys on this Kansas team. He won't be easy to back down at all.
Well, under Bill Self, they get so much credit for how good they are on offense, but under Big Self, they've led the Big 12 in field goal defense 9 times. They're currently 2nd in the conference in defense, so that's an underrated aspect of this Jayhawks team. Jackson flying to the hole on the curl.
He's so good. He gets going to his dominant hand, the right side, off the dribble handoff motion that Kansas has installed this year, and he's able to turn that corner in a tough lay-in.
Zach Smith answers with the wing jump shot. Good start offensively for the Raiders.
Smith's improvement in his time here in Lubbock has been tremendous. Came in more as an athlete, but his skill level continues to develop.
Lucas missed twice from close range. Not a very deep Kansas Jayhawks team. As a matter of fact, depth and defense are the two biggest concerns for Bill Self moving forward. Why is that, Miles?
Well, the depth, obviously, they only have 7 guys that really play. Carlton Bragg has been in and out of the lineup as Ibuki has the injured hand. So he's worried about foul trouble, injuries. But I think it's still somewhat of an advantage for this Kansas team. As long as they're not tired or injured, you get 7 really good players for this Kansas team playing the majority of the minutes. Sometimes those starters are going to get to go against the reserves of the other team.
That's a good point. Maybe their best is better than everyone else's best. 16:43 to go. Kansas will bring it up. Frank Mason, the contender, if not front runner, for National Player of the Year. Mason, beautiful spin move, but he can't get the floater to go. Almost picked off by Graham, no call, it goes out of bounds. It'll be Kansas basketball.
Great job by Graham, just kind of laying in the weeds on the sideline and anticipating the outlet pass to Keenan Evans. You see Justin Gray not really paying attention or seeing where Devontae Graham was, and the ball goes out of bounds on Evans.
Graham tried to sell the foul, didn't get that, but he did get the turnover.
There's a lot of guys that are masters of acting in college basketball these days.
Jackson guarded by Ross, who's checked in, and Josh Jackson is off to a scorching start.
So we've seen all the versatility of Josh Jackson just in the first 4 minutes. The defensive rebound, the tip jam, the turn the corner on the drive, and now the post up. Showing why he's one of the best players in the country, regardless of class.
He, Alonzo Ball, and Markelle Fultz, the only freshman averaging at least 15 points, 5 rebounds, and 3 assists. We saw Alonzo Ball come up so big in that win the other night against Oregon, and now Josh Jackson putting it all on display. Lucas and 1. And Landon Lucas, the 6'10 senior out of Portland, Oregon, is one of those key players that you feel, Miles, is going to be clutch for them.
Well, Josh Jackson's the guy that's getting it going for the Jayhawks. The follow tip jam here in Lubbock, as we got a good one. If you're Texas Tech, a team that is riding squarely on the bubble right now for the NCAA tournament, looking for a signature win. They're a tough team to beat here at home at the United Supermarkets Arena. They've already knocked off West Virginia in conference play here.
They did that in the second game of conference play, a 77-76 overtime win. They also beat Kansas State when they were ranked 25th, so some quality wins on Tech's resume, but they have to get a road win to make it a signature one. Landon Lucas completes the three-point play. He averages 7.4 points and 8.4 rebounds a game for Bill Self's club, and he's tops in the conference in rebounding in Big 12 play, and he's a huge factor for Bill Self's club going forward into the tournament.
Yeah, he really is. He's the anchor on the defensive end. Everything goes through him on that side of the floor because he's a guy that can't afford to get in foul trouble. He's so crucial to their rebounding, their defensive coverages.
Nice look by Livingston inside, and Evans has his second bucket of the afternoon.
How about the offense for Tech so far? Ball movement, player movement, sharing the basketball, getting easy looks nearly every time down against Kansas.
They are an efficient shooting team, 48% from the field. That's second in the conference behind only these Jayhawks. One and done for Kansas. Here's Evans.
Now Texas Tech, they'll only take the advantage breaks just like that. The breakdown defensively there by the Jayhawks. Devin Thomas takes advantage. But Texas Tech really just wants to play in the half court, kind of grind this game out.
And this is also a good sign with the Texas Tech Red Raiders going to the line and shooting two. Rivalry week rolling on today. 14th ranked Florida State taking on the Irish at 6 Eastern. Then we go to McKeon Pavilion out west, the site of College Game Day for number 1 undefeated Gonzaga taking on number 20 St. Mary's. And Florida State is a team, Miles, that you think is the type of team that could really give Kansas some trouble down the stretch. Why is that?
You know, one thing with Florida State, they have great size along their front line. Ojo, Jonathan Isaacs. They're very athletic. Dwayne Bacon on the wing. And I think those teams, Kansas with the lack of interior depth, and they only start the one true big, Landon Lucas, teams like Purdue, North Carolina that could really hammer the Jayhawks on the board and punish them inside. Looking forward to the NCAA tournament, looking ahead to the NCAA tournament could give them trouble.
Here's a trap that goes off Livingston's hands. It's going to stay Kansas basketball, but with 9 on the shot clock. Gerald Vicks checked into the game, number 2 in gray for the Jayhawks. He'll inbounds to Mason.
Tech doing a good job of mixing up their defenses. Throws the trap there and now goes 2-3 zone late in the clock.
Here's Mason. The teardrop, too strong. Loose ball, and Jackson gets it back for Kansas. He is a Swiss Army knife for this team. Here's Vick beyond the arc. No, and the rebound to Gray.
See, the Jayhawks have to take advantage of those second chance opportunities because Texas Tech really limits their teams, their opponents on the offensive glass, only giving up about 8 offensive rebounds per game.
That's right, Miles. They're the number 1 defensive rebounding team in this league. Up and under, and that's Naeem Stevenson with his second bucket of the afternoon. Largest lead of the game early going for Tech.
Well, right now it's just too easy to get in the paint for Texas Tech. Everything's at the rim. Jayhawks not sitting in a stance.
Here's Jackson. Kicks it out. Mikhailuk from the corner. No. 3-pointers haven't been falling so far for the Jayhawks. 0 for 5 from 3-point range in the early going for Kansas, the 7th best 3-point shooting team in the country percentage-wise. Mikhailuk will go to the bench. Number 15, Carlton Bragg Jr. checks in. And a stoppage of play before the inbounds. Thank you, Mark. Rivalry Week presented by Wendy's continues in the Big 12. It's Kansas, number 3 in the nation, on the road, taking on the Red Raiders in Lubbock, getting a handful in the first 6+ minutes. Kansas with the ball, down 3. Rich Hollenberg, Miles Simon on the call for you. And the Red Raiders have come out firing on all cylinders in front of a sellout crowd in front of United Supermarkets Arena.
Well, one thing Texas Tech has done against the Jayhawks is they've attacked like this, especially off the dribble.
Ross showed 3, gets it out to Stevenson. That's off the mark. And another rebound for Josh Jackson. This Kansas team led by a Player of the Year candidate, maybe the front runner in Frank Mason.
Well, Frank Mason has had a tremendous season for the Jayhawks, one of the best in Kansas basketball history.
Here's his backcourt mate, Graham, the first 3-pointer of the afternoon for the Kansas Jayhawks.
And that's big for Kansas to see that one go through. They struggled behind the arc here in the first 7.5 minutes of the game. And Graham, one of their best, knocking it down from deep.
Graham had a season-high 20 the last time these two teams met. That was an 85-68 win by the Jayhawks on January 7th. Inside, picked off by Mason.
Texas Tech does an excellent job of transition defense. Just when Kansas thought they had the numbers, they get enough guys back.
And Mason with the shot. He'll go to the line and shoot 2. He was 11 for 12 from the free throw line the last time these two teams met. He turned in 26 points in that winning effort for Kansas. And he's not just a scorer, and he's not just an assist man.
No, he is the toughest guy on this team. He's fearless. He's a leader. He makes all the little plays. To me, it's not about his scoring or his 3-point shooting or his assists. He gets down in a stance. He guards each and every night. He plays the most minutes on this team. He never seems to get tired. He goes after all the loose balls. He's just a guy that he's a guy that I would want on my team. Like, I want to play with Frank Mason if I was still playing in college basketball today, because I know he's always going to have my back. And I know he's going to bring it each and every night. One of my favorite players to watch in college basketball.
Part of the Wooden late season top 20 at the very start of the conversation for National Player of the Year. 1 for 2 from the free throw line for Mason, his first point of the afternoon. Kansas, as of right now, listed as a 1 seed. Of course, just earlier today, they came out with the top 16 seeds. Kansas on that 1 line. Texas Tech, if you're not familiar with Lunardi bracketology vernacular, the next 4 out means the Red Raiders are squarely on the bubble. They're still in search of that signature win.
Well, the thing about the Big 12, you can get a lot of those wins. Today's a tremendous opportunity playing at home in United Supermarkets Arena, a place that they've had a lot of success so far this year.
There's another Red Raiders turnover. Here's Bragg, back after that 3-game suspension. Vick went right into the teeth of the defense and drew the foul on Texas Tech. We have more bracketology conversation coming up with 1 month till March Madness begins right after this. 97 Final Four MOP, Miles Simon. I'm Rich Hollenberg. Miles, you're all too familiar with the way March Madness works. You never know what's going to happen come tournament time. But do you think Kansas is squarely on that 1 line?
Yes, absolutely. And I think they've earned it with what they've done in conference play, the wins that they've had this year. Remember, they knocked off Duke early in the year when Frank Mason hit a game-winning jump shot. And this is a Kansas team that has the potential to obviously cut down the nets in Glendale in early April.
Gerald Vick hits that free throw. It's been a tightly fought game so far with 11:44 to go. 14-12, Kansas with the lead. This year they've already beaten number 1 Duke, number 2 Baylor, and number 4 Kentucky. Conversely, the Red Raiders, as we mentioned earlier, a couple of impressive wins here against West Virginia and Kansas State. Both of those teams were ranked, but they do not have a win on the road in conference so far this season. That ball tipped. It'll stay Red Raiders basketball.
And it looks like Devontae Graham took a little low blow below the belt. Crouched over for a second, but looks to be okay.
This is a veteran Texas Tech team. Naeem Stevenson off the mark. Graham the rebound, and Kansas wants to run. Bragg travel.
But you know what? That's not Carlton Bragg's fault. That's Mikhailuk's fault. You can't give the ball to Carlton Bragg with the defender in front of him at the foul line. He's just not going to be able to make that play or stop on a dime quickly enough to make the extra pass. Mikhailuk has to go all the way, or he has to pull that basketball back out. That turnover should go to Mikhailuk.
Clean basketball otherwise for the Jayhawks with almost 9 minutes gone by. That's their first turnover of the contest. Smith calls his own number, no good. Bragg the rebound. And Vick cans a three-pointer. That's the second 3 for the Jayhawks.
Well, that's a big confidence booster for LeGerald Vick. He had a hot streak during the middle part of this season where he was knocking down threes at a lights-out rate, but struggled in conference so far. Only 7 for 26 coming into today.
Yeah, he was 0 for the three-point range in his last 4. So that's his first 3 in 5 games, and Evans with an answer.
Evans so much more confident this year. He's getting to play off the ball a little bit more. Tubby Smith had him mainly as their point guard last year. But now that he gets to kind of look for his shot, feel his game out each and every night, Coach Beard needs him to score double figures for the Red Raiders to be successful.
Devontae Graham too strong with the layup. Here's Mikhailuk getting a fresh 30 for the Jayhawks. And to your point, Frank Mason, Josh Jackson on the bench right now. There are still weapons on the floor for Kansas.
Absolutely. Devontae Graham can fill it up. Steve Mikhailuk can hit the threes at a high rate.
Mikhailuk, they've hit their last 3 three-pointers. Svi Mikhailuk, his first bucket of the afternoon.
You know, I feel like Mikhailuk, his confidence has grown this year. Obviously, his minutes are much more consistent with no Wayne Selden out on the floor for the Jayhawks.
Gray goes down. No foul called. Here comes Vick. And the boos are raining down inside United Supermarkets Arena. Svi can't make it for 3 a second time in a row. And number 10, Stevenson, brings it up for the Red Raiders.
Smith's got to attack him off the bounce. That was Coach Beard's game plan. He wants to try to get Landon Lucas in foul trouble. Try to attack the depth of this Jayhawk team.
Stevenson into the paint, got a foul, and will go to the line. So to some extent, mission accomplished for Chris Beard's club.
Well, Kansas, one of the best three-point shooting teams in the land. You go underneath and you get no help from the big guy, and LaGerald Vick's going to knock it down. And then the same thing, you go underneath again. Svi Mykhailiuk rejects the little on-ball screen, and he knocks down one from deep. And I feel like in the first 2 years, Mykhailiuk, he had the air ball here early in the first half, that his confidence almost would have been shot in his first 2 years if he didn't make that shot or he airballed on the road. But you can see now that Bill Self and his teammates have instilled even more confidence in him this year to continue taking those shots, even if you miss your first one, even if you airball.
And certainly rounding out his game much more than just a three-point marksman this season as well. Stevenson got the first, the 6'5" junior out of Dallas, by way of junior college, a two-time JUCO All-American at Seward Community College, where in Liberal, Kansas, not far from Lawrence.
Well, he brings really a scoring punch to this team. That took over the starting role a couple games ago. They needed the offensive firepower. Devin Thomas as the backup, more of a distributor, pass-first guy for the Red Raiders.
Here's Lucas. Over the shoulder, nice touch by Landon Lucas.
And that's such a bonus for Kansas if Landon Lucas is scoring in the post. He does really well when he has angles just like that at the rim and goes over his left shoulder for the nice jump hook. But has times where he has trouble finishing over size and athleticism.
Well, his scoring's gone down a bit, but his rebounds have gone up.
But he's the most important player for this team. Zach Smith, mid-range jump shot.
Zach Smith averaging nearly 14 points and 10 rebounds a game in his last 4. He has 4 today. 8 minutes to go first half. Lucas, good feed from Graham, and Lucas has a chance at a three-point play. Take a timeout. Coming up, Red Raider Thomas Brandsma literally following his head coach's footsteps, a story of one of the most unique coach-player bonds in college basketball.
Applebee's all-in burger meal deal for just $9.99. We're talking burger.
It's a tremendous story that for Thomas Brandsma, coming from Colleyville Heritage High School, had no Division I, no Division II offers. His high school coach, Stephen Hamrick, arranged a workout with Chris Beard when Chris Beard was at McMurray. And the night before, Brandsma had no idea that the workout was going to happen. He stayed up till 3 a.m. playing ping pong that night. But he impressed enough in the workout that Coach Beard offered him a spot on the McMurray team. Then he followed him to Angelo State, to Little Rock, and then now he's playing in the Big 12.
Yeah, he was a Texas Rangers beer vendor the summer before his college started, and now he's a Red Raider playing in the Big 12. And a shout out to our colleague Jeff Goodman. If you want to read more about that story with Brandsma and Beard, you can go to ESPN.com. That whistle's going to go against the Kansas Jayhawks, so it'll be Texas Tech basketball. 7:21 to go, down 8. This is the largest Kansas lead of the game. That was Frank Mason's first foul. Mason held to just 1 point so far with nearly 13 minutes gone by.
But the other guys are contributing. Josh Jackson's been a stud. They knocked down three-point shots in the last few minutes.
Livingston hit a corner 3 to beat West Virginia in overtime back in January, missed that one. And Keenan Evans providing some offense. That's 9 points for Evans.
You can just tell he feels so much more comfortable playing off the ball this season. Young man shooting 44% from behind the arc.
Here's Jackson baseline. Skip pass, Mykhailiuk, yes, from the corner.
2 players from Texas Tech went over to rotate, and they were both in the right position, but they have to talk to each other because that left Mykhailiuk wide open in the corner on the baseline drive.
Well, Mykhailiuk's not going to win his team ice cream after that 3, but he hit a half-court shot in practice that did yesterday.
He did.
And you called that, partner. Keenan Evans has been a star offensively for the Red Raiders. almost single-handedly keeping Texas Tech in this game in the early going. Good ball movement. The one more, Jackson. And that's a part of his game that he's really improved upon. Josh Jackson from 3. He has 9. He's shooting over 50% from beyond the arc in his last 6 games.
If you watch Josh Jackson the first 4 or 5 weeks of the season, he was tentative to even shoot open jump shots. And why they keep giving it to Carlton Bragg in transition when he's not able to finish, when he's better finishing around the rim. That's 2 turnovers, but both of those go on the guard. I don't blame Carlton Bragg for those turnovers.
Good D by Mykhailiuk. And here comes Grant. No numbers, but he drew the foul. Well, Josh Jackson, as we mentioned earlier, is a do-it-all freshman phenom.
Well, the scouting report on him coming in to college was that he wasn't a great shooter. Tremendous competitor, can get to the floor, versatile, athletic. And you saw it in the first 4 or 5 weeks of the season. Teams would just back off him at the three-point line, force him to try to shoot jumpers because he does have a little bit of a hitch in his shot. But over the last few weeks, you can tell his confidence has grown. He's a guy that puts a ton of time in the gym. He wants to be great. And his work is paying off right now. 13 for 24 over his last 6 games from behind the arc.
5-time Big 12 Newcomer of the Week, Josh Jackson. Turned 20 yesterday. Tries it again. Not this time.
You know what? That's okay. Because you could tell he has confidence in his game and his shot.
Very coachable young man as well. Bill Self has nothing but positive things to say about Josh Jackson, the freshman from Detroit.
Texas Tech running their motion offense that Chris Beard is known for. Bill Self has said it's really a challenge to defend this motion offense because you can't tell your guys where that player is going to be cutting to next because it's a freedom of movement thing on the offensive end.
Yeah, it was interesting. He said it's easy to prepare for, but it's hard to coach that. Here's Mykhailiuk again from the corner. Svi Mykhailiuk has 3 3-pointers. And it's a 12-point Kansas lead with 4:15 to go. Well, it was a little bit of a cold start offensively for Kansas, but the Jayhawks have heated up in Lubbock.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Wendy's, proud sponsor of the 2017.
Kansas with the lead, the 3rd-ranked Jayhawks, one of the best offensive teams in the country.
Yeah, and this is why. They spread you out. They have 4 out, 1 in, but look at this pass. Okay, now the spacing, if you freeze it here, 15 to 18 feet apart. Perfect spacing, only 2 defenders. They have all the advantages in the world. They swing it, and then the finish by Josh Jackson, the guy who started the play.
And Stevenson with a 3 out of the timeout. 8 points for Naeem Stevenson, who's averaging almost 11 his last 5 games.
Well, the 2 things that Coach Beard felt for them to have success and pull off the upset today was getting to the foul line. They've only shot 4 free throws in the first half, and knocking down 3s. They've only made 2 of those, and then that's beautifully executed zone offense for the Jayhawks there. The lob to Josh Jackson for the finish.
Already in double digits, 11 points for Josh Jackson, 3.5 to go in the first. Evans, spot up, 3, got it. Keenan Evans leads all scorers with 14.
If you're Texas Tech, you feel good about what you've done on the offensive end, but you're not able to get enough stops on the defensive end to really cut into this lead.
Lucas.
More
Terrific ball movement.
Look at that, how crisp it is.
Mykhailiuk can't pay it off. Weak side rebound to Gray.
The ball never sticks.
And the ball never touched the floor either. Stevenson, same spot. Didn't get the result he wanted this time. Once again, Frank Mason on the bench. Bill Self being very judicious in trying to get his star as much rest as possible. And that foul's going to go on the Red Raiders as Josh Jackson probes inside the paint. The offense is in good hands with the freshman Jackson on the floor. So there's Landon Lucas standing at the top of the key, about to shoot more free throws. And we've talked about it already, how you think he is such a key cog in this championship run that the Kansas Jayhawks want to go on.
He's the most important piece, in my opinion.
Why is that?
He's the guy that Bill Self trusts the most on the defensive end, and that's going back to last year. He's going to have to be a huge post presence, rebound the basketball, defend, finish around the basket. We know that almost Mason and Graham and Josh Jackson are going to pretty much show up every night. They're going to get their numbers. They get enough shots. They're going to get points. But Landon Lucas is the guy that is the anchor for this team. He's one of the most vocal guys. He's a tremendous leader. The team will follow him. He reminds me of my teammate A.J. Bramlett when we won the title in '97, kind of an unsung hero. But my guy A.J. Bramlett was dominant in the post as far as defense and rebounding in the NCAA tournament, and that really enabled us to make the run that we made. Landon Lucas can do the same for the Jayhawks.
3 #1 seeds. Is it too simple to call him a glue guy?
Yeah, I don't think he's just a glue guy, because I think he's too much of a leader to be just a glue guy.
That's a good point. You mentioned your former teammate. There's A.J. with a nice big hug with Lute Olson and the MOP of the 1997 Final Four. And look at him in that crowd of Kansas Jayhawks. I see Rafe LaFrentz in there, Jacques Vaughn, some NBA players.
Scott Pollard in there.
Every team needs its stars, but every team also needs players like Landon Lucas. I love what Bill Self said about him. He doesn't score a lot, but he has a lot to do with us scoring. Speaking of scoring, a chance at a three-point play for Aaron Ross, his first bucket of the game.
Well, Aaron Ross just has the size and a little bit of strength advantage over Mikhailuk. Mikhailuk, pretty good defense there. He's wondering where the foul is. The little spin. And there, I think they're calling it underneath with a little push on Mikhailuk. But Aaron Ross, he's healthy these last 2 years, and that's why his production and his play has gone up. He's had 2 knee injuries over his time as a Texas Tech Red Raider. He was phenomenal towards about the last 5 or 6 weeks of last season for Tubby Smith's team and leading him to the run to make the NCAA tournament.
Mason back on the floor for Kansas. You mentioned earlier, free throws a key for Chris Beard's Red Raiders. Just getting to the line. They've only been there 5 times and they've only made 1. And this is a good free throw shooting team. Here's Jackson again.
Tough. How do you guard that?
One of his best halves of basketball this season.
Zach Smith is as athletic as anybody in the country, but Josh Jackson, sometimes good offense just beats good defense.
.120 to go in the first half. Rich Hollenberg, Miles Simon, Keenan Evans trying to keep the Red Raiders within punching chance. It's a 40-30 Kansas lead, and Evans will go to the line. Well, 2 of the hottest teams in college hoops square off with first place in the American up for grabs tomorrow at 4 Eastern. It's number 11 Cincinnati and number 25 SMU. Bearcats have won 15 straight. SMU has won 17 of their last 18. That's a journey to the tourney game as part of Rivalry Week presented by Wendy's. And Jason Benetti and some dude named Miles Simon will be calling that game.
I'll be there. I'm excited for that game. Moody Coliseum is always rocking. Tim Jankovic, he's kind of in the same situation that Bill Self is. But his was more by like guys leaving the program and transfers. They play with 7 guys, but their 7 guys, Shake Milton, Shemi Ojerle, the transfer from Duke, are tremendous. And if you haven't seen Jacob Evans and Kyle Washington for Cincinnati, it's going to be a real treat tomorrow afternoon.
Troy Copain as well for Cincinnati. It's getting loud inside United Supermarkets Arena. Red Raiders, courtesy of those 3 free throws by Keenan Evans, are now down just 7 with $1:07 to go. And now LaGerald Vick will go to the line, shooting 1-1. And he misses the front end, and Smith grabs the rebound.
Big last couple possessions here for
Smith
Texas
to
Tech.
pull up. And Bill Self has his full complement of timeouts, and he uses one of them with under a minute to go, and his team only up 5. in the country. Miles, you think back to these teams, Rebecca Lobo, Diana Taurasi, Maya Moore, the list goes on and on. How impressive that they just continue winning. Remember, they started this year in the preseason ranked just 3rd.
One of the most impressive feats in the history of sports. There's no question. And we're watching it unfold in our lifetime. And then a beautiful pick and roll play there between Graham and Carlton Bragg.
Do you remember the longest win streak when you were at Arizona for you?
I don't.
I can tell you.
What was it?
Your senior year, you guys won 19 straight games. You don't remember that? You remember everything.
No, I don't. I remember losses more than wins, actually.
You sound like a coach.
Yeah, I definitely remember losses more than wins.
Things getting a little frisky with 22.2 to go. Carlton Bragg and Zach Smith going forehead to forehead. And it'll be Keenan Evans inbounding under their own basket for the Red Raiders with 10 on the shot clock. Smith was looking for the shot, didn't get a pass, and here comes the last shot of the half for the Jayhawks.
Coach Self wants 1-4 flat.
Graham pulls up, can't knock it down. The rebound. Ross with the heave, but it goes off to the left. Well, the Kansas Jayhawks will go to the locker room up and on the road, and they are led by their freshman sensation, Josh Jackson, with 13 points, only missed Rich Hollenberg. No Frank Mason, no problem. He only has 1 point in the first half. He's a National Player of the Year candidate, and that's because Josh Jackson, the freshman sensation, has been the best player on the floor.
Well, Josh Jackson has showed everything, especially on the offensive end. He's been the most versatile player on the floor tonight. Here is one of the first possessions of the game. He got the defensive rebound, then gets a tip jam. The dribble handoff, he takes it to the rim, finishes the tough layup. Now he hits the step-back jumper. He has a couple of assists. He's knocked down a three-point shot. Tremendous all-around performance. And the guy keeping the Red Raiders close has been Keenan Evans. 6 for 7 for the field, 17 points in the first half. Creating on his own when he wants to, getting by guys, knocking down three-point shots. But he'll need some help from his teammates in the second half if they want to pull off the upset.
Both those players you just talked about went a combined 12 for 14 from the field. Kansas coming in at 21-3, ranked 3rd in the nation, looking for win number 22, and that would mark 28 consecutive years they've had at least 22 victories. Inside they go to Lucas to start the second half.
The thing I like about the Kansas offense this year, you know, Bill Self is traditionally a 3-out and 2-in. But with Josh Jackson coming in, he knew he had more versatility, and it wasn't something that he planned for. It's something that he adjusted to just in the fall. And to put Josh Jackson in, exploiting mismatches at that 4 spot. But the spacing on the floor is so good. It's always 15 to 18 feet apart.
Graham, the transition 3, no good. And here comes Naeem Stevenson, number 10 in black for the Red Raiders. Texas Tech squarely on the bubble, so says our resident bracketologist, Joe Lenardi, in search of a signature win to get inside that tournament bubble. Scramble for the loose ball. And it'll be possession arrow, Texas Tech. 19:02 to go. Texas Tech really holding serve on their home court. 14-1 this season at home, including 4-1 in the Big 12, Miles, but they have not won a game on the road in conference.
No, and this is a team that's more than capable. It's a veteran team. They returned some of the best players from the Tubby Smith area, from a team that went to the NCAA tournament last year. Zach Smith, Aaron Ross, Keenan Evans, Justin Gray. So it's guys that have been through it and have won on the road before.
Their last 3 losses in conference have all been 1-possession games. So they're knocking on the door. Gray, pull up.
And that's really his range and kind of his game. Doesn't want to shoot a ton of threes, but he'll knock down that mid-range on a consistent basis. But here's the end of the floor where Texas Tech has to be better in the last 18 minutes of this game. Get down in the stance, get some consecutive stops, and maybe some easy runouts and easy transition points.
Jackson, tough cover for anybody. Comes up empty. And the foul is going to go on the freshman Jackson.
Stevenson sold that really well. Jackson was trying to get off of his body. If Stevenson would have just dribbled forward, it wouldn't have been a foul, but Stevenson being smart. Look, he's just trying to get into Jackson's body. And he actually really sold that very well.
Almost a reverse dribble by Stevenson to get the foul called on the freshman Jackson. So Tech's got a chance at back-to-back buckets, down 7. Smith, no. Couldn't get his own miss, and here comes Mason. No field goals so far for Frank Mason. Oh, and the foul slam again by Jackson.
Is that deja vu from the first half?
Second time we've seen that today. And his teammates are just laughing. A freak athletically for Josh Jackson, number 11 for the Jayhawks. To shoot. Evans.
Look at
this is his first shot of the half.
What a rebound.
Here's Ross. In and out. Smith the rebound and the foul.
Zach Smith is working. Doesn't give up on the play. Gets one offensive rebound. Teammate doesn't make it. He doesn't keep his head down. Just keeps fighting.
He had 8 points right now. Had 17 last time at Allen Fieldhouse against these Jayhawks. 3 minutes gone by, second half. Post feed. Quick pass from Mykhailiuk to Graham, and he knocks it down.
We talked about it in the first half. The ball doesn't stick. This team is so unselfish. The great kick out, and then Mykhailiuk, he knew before he even got the ball that Graham was open in the corner, and just a little touch pass, but he delivered it perfectly.
That's his team-leading 60th three-pointer of the season, Devontae Graham. And Stevenson got deep inside the defense of the Jayhawks and put it in. Jackson, and he stepped on the end line. There's a rare Jayhawks turnover this afternoon. Just their 3rd today.
Well, look at this passing. They go inside. The double team. Landon Lucas does a great job of finding Mykhailiuk right away. Mykhailiuk knew he wouldn't have the shot and finds the wide open Graham. Landon Lucas, an underrated post passer. A lot of big guys get turnovers in that spot, deflections that lead to the other way when they get double teamed. Landon Lucas has delivered a couple to the opposite side of the floor tonight.
Smith, too strong. Here comes Mason. Inside Lucas, back out to Mason. Mason initiated contact. Do they count it? Yes, they do.
Well, Josh Jackson has been the show here in West Texas. And he says, if you can't finish it, my partner, I'll throw it down for you. Jayhawks up 10.
Turned an ankle on that drive that drew the foul before the timeout.
Yeah, it looked like he just kind of jammed the front of his foot right into Justin Graves. He's limping a little bit, but this is one of the toughest and strongest guys on this team. I got the chance to talk to Coach Hootie over the last couple years and regarding who's the strongest guy in the Kansas weight room, and she said it's Frank Mason. And pound for pound, with his flexibility, his strength, she said he has the best fast twitch muscles on this team and tremendous body control, and you saw all those things right there on that one drive.
That was his first field goal of the game. Frank Mason now has just 4 points, but his team is up 11. Looking to become the first ever Kansas Jayhawk to average 20-plus points a game and 5-plus assists a game. This is the second winningest program in NCAA Division I history.
Well, not even that. Just think of all the great players that have come through the Kansas program. And for the numbers that Frank Mason is putting up, the minutes that he's playing, okay, the times that he has to have the ball, he sees the best perimeter defender from every team, and he shoots over 50% from the field. Truly amazing.
Here's Evans. Picks up where he left off. Keenan Evans has 20.
There's a great back screen by Justin Gray to free up Keenan Evans for that flare three.
Here's Jackson. Mason still can't get on track, but the turnover by the Red Raiders. Mason goes right at it. Short. And Stevenson, aggressive, fell down, but drew the foul on Bragg.
Well, we talked about the motion offense that Chris Beard has employed. They get the little side ball screen, but then watch this little flare screen on the backside. Right here, the screen here, frees up Keenan Evans for the wide open corner three. Because the help, LaGerald Vick goes to help on the drive, and then Frank Mason has no help on the backside. Great job by the Red Raiders there.
The fourth three-pointer for Texas Tech, but they're only shooting 33% from beyond the arc this afternoon. Need to up that number a little bit if they want to contend with the Jayhawks.
It's my first look in person at Naeem Stevenson. I'm very impressed. You mentioned it earlier, two-time JUCO All-American, was a big-time scorer in high school and junior college basketball, and that's more the reason why he was inserted into the starting lineup. He has great size. He's 6'5", can put the ball on the floor, knock down threes.
Jackson. Here's Graham. Back to Jackson. Got it. 18 for Josh Jackson to go along with 8 rebounds as well. And if that three-pointer stroke is working, there's no way to defend him. And the foul's going to go on Mason. Now Mason will go to the bench. Mikhailuk will come back on. Mason's got 3 fouls. Lucas comes back on for Bragg. Do you think Chris Beard has to go to Keenan Evans for more offense?
Well, you know what? The guy that needs to get involved is right there, number 21, Anthony Livingston, one of their best three-point shooters.
Just off the mark with that one.
Now let's see if they can get Landon Lucas a touch. He has the smaller Livingston on him in the post. Watch for the high-low.
Graham from NBA range, in and out. That was halfway down. Instead, it goes out of bounds. Tonight after Gonzaga St. Mary's on ESPN, don't miss SportsCenter at night. It's a 3-headed monster, Miles. 2 Johns and a Steve. Bucci, Anderson, and Levy. They'll have all the highlights from the hardwood, the ice, and updates from UFC 208, plus a whole lot more. SportsCenter at night on ESPN with 2 Johns and a Steve.
3 of the best in the business.
It sounds like a movie that Adnan Virk would reveal on Cinephile.
Adnan Virk, our resident movie expert at ESPN.
Try to stump him on Twitter. There's no chance.
No, you can't. I mean, that he's had to have seen over 2,000 or 3,000 movies, maybe more.
Zach Smith with the big slam.
Zach Smith has really expanded his game. Can catch and shoot from 3 this year, putting it on the floor better. Well, here's the part of the game that Zach Smith didn't have in his arsenal a couple years ago. And I know it's just a straight line drive, but he didn't really feel comfortable handling the basketball outside the three-point line. Kansas confused on the defensive end. Whether to switch or stay leaves the wide open driving lane.
Mason on the bench for Bill Self. They tried the post feed, but they overthrew Lucas. And here come the Red Raiders. Nice feed inside to Graham. And Chris Beard exhorting his Red Raiders on as a timeout is called on the floor.
Back in our college basketball studios, updating you on Miami and Louisville. This is Ibuka Uzundo here with the tip-ins. Currently, the Hurricanes in a 4-point lead. It's over on ESPN2. And Villanova and Xavier, this is Dante DiVincenzo. Nice look there as Villanova has a 35-23 lead. Rich?
Thanks, Adnan. Kansas getting a handful on the road, up 6 with the ball in Lubbock. 12 minutes to go. Graham can't silence the crowd. They're at full throat inside United Supermarkets Arena.
Well, that's a poor possession against the zone defense. They only pass the ball around the three-point line. No penetration by pass or dribble inside.
Smith for 3. Looked good out of his hand. Jackson lost it but got fouled by Stevenson. We have another timeout on the floor with under 12 to go. Can the Jayhawks win number 22 on the season?
What is love? Love is what inspires.
It's a team text that everybody's on, the whole staff and all the players, and it's daily messages. And the 300 Club is that they challenge each player every day to make 300 game shots. And he said he inherited a great culture of work ethic, hardworking kids, and a culture of defense from the previous staff, that Tubby Smith. And he said this team, even after they had the tough loss to TCU, he got multiple texts. The guys are like supposed to take pictures with the manager or with the gun, however they got their shooting in. But at 8:15, the day after the TCU loss, multiple guys had already gone in to get their work in for that day. So you got to love that for your coach, that you have a team that's self-motivated to get better each and every day. Makes it easier to coach when you get out on the floor.
Culture of unselfishness, and it's paying off for the Red Raiders, who are on the bubble, according to Joe Lunardi, in search of that signature win this season. And boy, oh boy, wouldn't this one qualify?
Well, remember, after this game, too, they have Baylor coming up on on Monday night.
And then West Virginia in Morgantown after that. There's a big 3 by Evans.
So if you're Kansas, I can't understand how you can keep leaving Keenan Evans open. The best three-point shooter on the team.
Mason. Jackson. Can't get the 3 that time. Stevenson finishes. Mason, what a tough shot by Frank Mason. Playing on a bad left ankle, just his 2nd field goal of the game.
As tough as they come in this game. You needed the big shot made. He put his head down, get all the way to the rim, drew a little bit of contact, and a tremendous finish.
You see Frank Mason with his hands on his knees. He is gassed.
Well, look at that drive right there over the 6'5" Naeem Stevenson. Not an easy finish by any means by Frank Mason.
Frank Mason will go to the bench. They call him the Phenom back in his days in Petersburg, Virginia. Went to the same high school as Moses Malone, who scored over 2,000 points there. No one scored anywhere near that except for Frank. 1,900 points in his high school career, and now he's doing it at an All-American level at Kansas. They wave off the shot. We're coming up on 10 minutes gone by in the second half, and it's a 2-possession ball game. Frank Mason putting in yeoman-like work all season long, averaging nearly 36 minutes in Big 12 play. Only 21 so far today, though. Smith. Of Mikhailuk, and they're going bananas in Lubbock. and a traveling violation called on Mikhailuk. Texas Tech with the ball and a chance to regain the lead. Stevenson. No. The foul called on the follow try. Zach Smith will go to the line with a chance to give the Red Raiders the lead against the number 3 Jayhawks with 9:01 to go.
Well, the offense is just clicking now for Texas Tech. Zach Smith knocking down the 3, and then the defense has been electrified as they get the steal, and then Naeem Stevenson taking it to the rim hard. As we're tied here in Lubbock.
Miles, the Red Raiders' last lead was at the 14:05 mark of the first quarter when they were up 12-9. And they are knocking on the door of one of the biggest upsets of the season. But 9 minutes, a lot of time left. 15 for Smith. Chris Beard telling his team, don't foul.
I feel like this has kind of been the MO of Kansas a little bit this year. Jump out to these big leads, control the basketball game. For instance, against Iowa State last Saturday.
Big bucket from Jackson. He has 22, that's one off his season high. Well, to your point, Miles, the Jayhawks have been outscored in the second half 7 times this year. They're 4-3 in those games. So they have shown signs of vulnerability in the second stanza. Stevenson out the window.
And they're just going at Mikhailuk. Chris Beard told his guys today, when number 10 gets on you and you have an ISO, you go.
Bragg, blocked from behind. A nice feed from Ross on the cut, and the foul called on the Jayhawks. Texas Tech in front of their home.
Too many for a very good Red Raider defense, and once the defense is locked in, it's led to easier opportunities on the offensive side of the floor. The thing that they've done more of in the second half is try to attack Landon Lucas and Svi Mikhailuk and make those two guys really defend.
Liam Stevenson at the line. He's 2 for 4 from the stripe this afternoon. 18 points for Stevenson as a career high. This is Tech's largest lead of the game, but still 7:54 to go. A lot of basketball yet to be played in Lubbock. And now Stevenson goes to the bench, and Keenan Evans, who has 23 points on the afternoon, comes in to replace him. You get the sense like it might be Frank Mason time.
They got to get into the gaps of this zone.
Mason. No.
Look at
Lucas, the offensive rebound.
Big.
Now Mason pulls from 3 and got it.
He's so good. But who did I say is the anchor and most important piece?
Landon Lucas.
Landon Lucas outfought 3 Red Raiders for that offensive rebound. And it leads to the 3 by Mason.
That's Frank Mason's first 3-pointer of the afternoon. He's held to just 9 points. Nice look underneath. Thomas can't finish. He hesitated, expecting the defense to collapse, and they didn't.
Well, watch this offensive rebound. Landon Lucas doing work down low, gets in between, and he's not the most athletic guy. Zach Smith can outjump Landon Lucas any day of the week, but Landon Lucas just outworks him and gets inside position.
Jackson, the touchdown pass. And what a lead by Graham to Vic. My goodness.
How about that pass from Josh Jackson?
Here's Gray. Bounce pass to Smith. There's a lot of bounce in this gym right now. We are seeing supreme athleticism.
Look at this pass from Josh Jackson. Leads him right in stride, and then LeGerald Vick is the recipient from Devontae Graham. I coached against a guy in the Pac-12 named Kevin Love. He threw perfect outlet passes just like that.
Spin move, Mason. No! And it's saved by Stevenson. 6:20 to go. Rich Hollenberg, Miles Simon, the ESPN crew, turning into a classic from Lubbock. And Evans turns and is immediately fouled, and he'll go to the line and shoot two.
Bill Self and his staff are going to show the Jayhawks that they've been back cut probably 10 to 12 times today. Now, Texas Tech hasn't scored on them all, but Texas Tech does a great job of moving without the basketball, setting back screens, which is one of the hardest screens to guard in basketball.
Evans, 80% free throw shooter. He's 3 for 3 from the stripe this afternoon. Make it 4 for 4. This week's NBA Saturday primetime game, presented by Verizon Wireless on ABC. Kevin Durant and the Warriors in familiar territory back in Oklahoma City for another matchup with Russell Westbrook and the Thunder. Coverage tips with NBA Countdown presented by Straight Talk Wireless at 8. The biggest games of the season with the biggest stars in the NBA every Saturday night. Russell Westbrook, a diminutive guard. Frank Mason, a diminutive guard. They need his leadership now. Inside, Lucas, and one.
That's a heck of a post-up and a great delivery. These Jayhawk guards are excellent post passers. The ball, look at how he delivers it only to where Landon Lucas can get it. Justin Gray just a half step too late. Landon Lucas sits down in a stance, posts up wide and big, and gives him a great target, and then is able to get the finish.
Landon Lucas only shoots it at a 58% clip in conference play, and this is what he's looking at inside United Supermarkets Arena. And he misses the front end. Couldn't complete the three-point play. Tech down one with the ball, under 6 to go. Smith pulls up. What a great mid-range game.
We'll see how they clear the whole side of the right side of the floor. So when Landon Lucas goes to help on the ball screen, there's no help for him on the Zach Smith pop. That's good offense.
And a foul away from the ball. It's going to go on Texas Tech.
Now here you see the side ball screen, the pick and pop. Everybody's cleared out. There's no other offensive players over there, so no one can stunt at Zach Smith. That leaves him wide open for the one dribble pull-up jumper. Landon Lucas did his job perfectly, but the design of the play by Chris Beard is what allowed for that open shot.
So Aaron Ross got whistled for his 4th foul, will be forced to the bench. 5:27 to go. Texas Tech on the bubble, according to Joe Lunardi. You'd have to guess that this would put them in that bubble with a win against number 3 Kansas. That's going to be goaltending. Score the bucket for Josh Jackson. And he now has a new season and career high with 24.
I love that Josh Jackson takes what the defense gives him. The open 3, he sees the mismatch, feels that Zach Smith can't move quick enough laterally to stay in front. Quick straight line drive with the beautiful first step.
21 in black, Livingston back on. We talked about him as a key down the stretch. He's been held scoreless. Stevenson! A career game for Naeem Stevenson.
Well, look at the strength. It's just one-on-one. And Devontae Graham couldn't keep him out of the paint. Naeem Stevenson at 6'5", gets the nice jump stop and goes right through that contact. And Devontae Graham says, my bad.
Stevenson comes up big in big games. He had 13 points and 8 boards in their win against West Virginia. He has 22 this afternoon against the third-ranked Kansas Jayhawks. And that free throw stakes Texas Tech to a 2-point lead with 4:51 to go. By way of reminder, we have to go all the way back to 2009, the last time that these Red Raiders upended Bill Self and the Kansas Jayhawks. It was March 4th. Pat Knight was the head coach, and Alan Voskuhl was the hero that afternoon. He finished 9 for 14 from 3, 38 points in all, and the Red Raiders won it going away 84-65. What did these Red Raiders have to do in the final 4:51 to secure this win, Miles?
Well, it's going to be one on the defensive end of the floor. Offense hasn't been a problem all night for the Red Raiders. It's they're going to have to start putting together, again, continuous stops, 2 or 3 in a row. Try to keep the ball out of Frank Mason's hands as best as possible. And then you got to sit down and find some type of matchup, whether it's maybe going zone for a couple of possessions to keep Josh Jackson away from the basketball and scoring.
There you see from his perch, Bob Knight, owner of 902 career wins, comes to almost all the Tech home games. You know, he'd love to see nothing more than the team he used to coach upset the Jayhawks. Chris Beard, an assistant under Bob and Pat Knight for a decade here back in the early 2000s. Mason, no. Lucas, another offensive board. Here's Vic. And Jackson gets the rebound. Mason knocks down the open 3.
You almost knew that that was going to go in. Landon Lucas, Josh Jackson, offensive glass, something the Red Raiders don't give up much of. And Frank Mason knocks down the open 3.
It's easy to forget that Frank Mason, for all he does, is a 52% three-point shooter this season. And we're going the other way. So Kansas regains the lead by 1, 4:02 to go, and they have a chance to add to that lead. And look at Frank Mason. He is flat exhausted.
Well, Rich, I think part of it is a little bit fatigue, but also Frank Mason been suffering from a little bit of the flu bug earlier this week.
That and a gimpy left ankle has Frank Mason clutching his shorts every time the whistle blows. Here's Jackson working on Gray, and he got the foul. 3:42 to go. Josh Jackson will be going to the line when we come back.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Phillips 66, proud sponsor of Big 12 basketball.
My man Adnan Burke.
Well, Kansas, one of the most talented teams in the country, ranked number 3 and going for an almost unprecedented 13th straight conference title that would match UCLA from 1967 to 1979. Those Bruin teams led by Lynn Shackelford and Lou Alcindor at the beginning of that run, and then Kiki Vandeweghe at the late 70s back in 1979 when they finished 13 straight. It's going to be a tough road down the stretch here for the Jayhawks as Jackson hits that free throw. Next game for them, West Virginia at Allen Fieldhouse, and they follow that up with a game at Baylor.
You see here over the last 4 or 5 minutes that they've really gone with their defensive lineup, kept Svi Mykhailiuk out of the game. Bill Self going with LaGerald Vick, getting a ton of minutes, more so because of his defensive prowess.
And you mentioned defense, and no sooner than you do that, but they get a big defensive stop at that end. Coming up on 3 minutes to go. And an exhausted Frank Mason whistled for his 5th foul. He'll go to the bench for the final 3:05 with 12 points.
Well, Texas Tech is one of the best in the country at taking charges. Their rotations are always on point. They come over here on the baseline drive, and Frank Mason, one of the few mistakes that he's made, he leaves his feet to make that pass. And Texas Tech in perfect position to take the charge.
Frank Mason only played 26 minutes today. 12 points, a gimpy left ankle. And he's on the bench the rest of the way. Fewest minutes played this season. And there's another big bucket from Zach Smith. Texas Tech is 4-22 all time versus the top three. For the lead. And Justin Gray will have a chance to give Texas Tech that lead at the free throw line.
Well, here you see Justin Gray just attacking in transition. And there's no foul there. That's not a foul. Josh Jackson bluffed like he was going to take a charge, and he moved out of the way. That's not a foul, and the ref was in perfect position to see that there was no contact.
Rivalry week rolls on this Saturday with the 14th-ranked Florida State Seminoles in South Bend. They're taking on the Irish at 6 Eastern. Then we take you to McKeon Pavilion, the site of this week's College Game Day for #1 undefeated Gonzaga and the #20 St. Mary's Gales. Both games on ESPN, also streaming live on the ESPN app, and watch ESPN. We talked about Florida State, how they might be the type of team that could give Bill Self's Jayhawks some trouble down the road. How about these Gonzaga Bulldogs? Obviously deserving of a 1 seed. Is this the best Gonzaga team we've seen with the best chance to go to a Final Four?
I don't know if it's the best team. It's one of the best, and the thing, it's hard to compare eras, but they're really good. Nigel Williams-Goss, Jonathan Williams, Jordan Matthews. They're excellent defensively. They have great depth and tremendous size.
First free throw is good by Gray. They're 9 for 10 this half from the free throw line. That was one of the keys Chris Beard told us about. One for 2 from Gray. Scramble for the loose ball. Gray's got it. And he'll go back to the line. Well, 50-50 balls.
Well, it's a free throw blockout. That's not even a 50-50 ball. It's a free throw blockout that was missed by Josh Jackson because he stepped into the lane a little bit too soft. Naeem Stevenson went a little bit harder, and the ball took an awkward bounce off the rim because it shot straight back. But if you step into your guy, that ball's going to fall right into your lap if you're Josh Jackson.
Now, a little bit of gamesmanship by Chris Beard. He was talking to the official Rick Crawford and saying, well, Justin hurt his wrist. He can't shoot these free throws. He's only a 69% free throw shooter. They wanted to send someone like Keenan Evans or Aaron Ross to the line, possibly. But that time, Gray connects. 13th lead change of the game. Justin Gray, a 6'6" junior out of Tampa. He has 8 points. Make it 9. And this Red Raiders team is 8-1 when he scores 10 or more. Tech up 2. The lob, oh my! Graham to Jackson.
His head was nearly above the rim. But I love how quickly Kansas can get into that set play against the zone defense. Tremendous recognition.
Livingston still scoreless in this contest. Tie ball game, 1:45 to go. And with Frank Mason on the bench, it's Josh Jackson's team right now.
It is. He's taken over this game, but watch for Devontae Graham. Has been quiet most of the night, but he is a big shot maker.
Jackson again. 30 points for Josh Jackson.
What a stud. Complete dominance.
Smith, the pull-up. Timeout on the floor. The Red Raiders call it. They have 1 remaining with 1:13 to go, and the score tied at 79 apiece.
Rich, how good has this been? The back and forth action has been so fun at United Supermarkets Arena. But look at Josh Jackson. This guy is putting on a superstar-type performance. The backdoor lob for the easy slam. And then Zach Smith with the sweet one-dribble pull-up that he's hit about 5 or 6 times tonight to tie the game up with 1:13 left.
11 has been the magic number. Both number 11s putting on a show this afternoon. Jackson for Kansas with 30 points, a double-double. That's his 4th double-double this season. And Zach Smith closing in on a career high. He has 21. Well, this Texas Tech team is no stranger to close games down the stretch. Their last 3 losses in the Big 12 have all been by 1 possession. What could possibly get them over the hump in this game against Kansas?
Well, I'll reiterate, it's going to be a defensive stop, a 1 and out. And you can't let Josh Jackson get a touch.
Now some token full court pressure as they fall back. Coming up on 1 minute to go. The ball goes out of bounds, but a foul is called before that. So Kansas will go to the line in the bonus, shooting 1-1.
These are 2 very well-coached teams. They get into their offense so easily, and that's an excellent ATO or after timeout play. So you've ran the last 2 plays for Josh Jackson. You kind of use him as a decoy there, and you get the high-low action with the floor spread for Landon Lucas.
Lucas at the line, 1-1. Missed the front end. Under a minute to go. Stevenson almost turned it over when he tripped.
They got to get the ball to Keenan Evans.
Stevenson lost it again. And the foul is going to be called, and Josh Jackson will go to the line. A bad offensive possession by the Red Raiders.
Keenan Evans had to be the guy, and I know Stevenson has had a tremendous game, but Keenan Evans is the guy that wanted the ball in his hands, and I was watching him about 10 or 15 feet away from me. He was hesitant to go call for it from his teammate.
And just the 2nd Texas Tech turnover this half. They're 18th in the nation in turnovers committed. They've played a very clean game against the number 3 Jayhawks. Jackson misses the front end. The Red Raiders haven't beaten the Jayhawks in their last 15 tries. Stevenson thought about the 3. Here's Ross. 15 seconds to go. Shot clock is off. And Graham, with 5.4 left, calls a timeout.
Well, Bill Self wanted the timeout with like 8 or 9 on the clock, but the players have to call the timeout, and no one recognized it until another 3 or 4 seconds went off.
Well, obviously the million-dollar question is, with Frank Mason on the bench having fouled out, is Josh Jackson, your freshman, the man who gets the ball?
He's the guy that should get the touch because he is the best creator, not only for himself, but his teammates that is out there on the floor right now. Put the ball in his hands. He's a big guard, but he can handle like a point guard and create. And with his size, he can finish at the rim over any of the defenders that Texas Tech has.
He's 2nd on this team in points and rebounds, 1st in steals and blocks. He's scored over 20 points now 8 times this season, but he's never had an offensive game like we're seeing this afternoon.
Now, the one thing they'll want to do, they want to get him isolated probably somewhere around the top of the key. Don't bring a screen to Josh Jackson because Texas Tech can blitz that screen and double team and get it out of his hands. Leave Josh Jackson to play one-on-one in this situation.
So Kansas out of timeouts. Texas Tech has 1 remaining. Do you think Chris Beard recognizes that it's going to be Jackson with the ball? And what do you do to counter that?
Well, he has a versatile defensive lineup, so they can switch all screens. They have confidence in Zach Smith has gotten the defensive assignment a ton. We'll see who comes out on Josh Jackson here.
Go back to the very beginning of this season when Kansas lost in that instant classic to Indiana to start the season. They went to overtime and lost by 4 there. now Chris Beard sees what the Jayhawks had set up, and he calls his final timeout. Well, with 5.4 left, let's go back to the studio and Adnan Virk.
All right, Rich, thank you.
Kansas ball, 5.4 seconds left. And Texas Tech has just called their final timeout. What a huge win this would be for Texas Tech, whose last 3 losses in conference play have all come by 1 possession. They've played extremely well this season inside this arena, but have yet to get a road win in conference play. Throw that out the window, because a win against the number 3 Jayhawks this afternoon would put them in the NCAA tournament. At least you would have to guess that.
Now watch the matchup. Justin Gray, their best overall defender on Josh Jackson. And here's the ISO at the
Jackson
top.
gets the ball. Gray fell down. Jackson got fouled. Justin Gray fell down on the defensive assignment, and Jackson went straight to the hole and got fouled.
Well, watch Landon Lucas. He sets the monster pick on Justin Gray. And then the foul is drawn. Zach Smith had to switch out. And that was close to a moving screen.
2.8 left. Jackson at the line, and he missed it. If there is one hole in Josh Jackson's game, it's at the free throw line. One-point Kansas lead, 2.8 to go. Here's Evans from half court, and it's short, and Kansas escapes by the skin of their teeth. Another 1-possession heartbreaking loss for Chris Beard, and Bill Self's Kansas Jayhawks have their 22nd win of the season, the 28th consecutive year they've done that. The number 3 Jayhawks improved to 10-2 in Big 12 play. Texas Tech, a terrific game, but they dropped to 4-8 in the Big 12. Our final here in Lubbock, Kansas 80, Texas Tech 79. Now we send you to Maryland for Ohio State and the Terrapins. Here's Dave Fleming and Dan Doc.